A bank robbery is a very stressful situation for customers, employees, and perhaps even the criminal alike. It takes a large amount of desperation and a lack of morals to pull one off, and if they're smart, it takes a lot of planning to get away with a heist. But what if the most endangered person at the robbery is not the person behind the counter? Today, we take a look at a robbery that had a confusing start and a tragic end. Let's talk about the death of Brian Wells, also known as the Pizza Bomber. On August 28, 2003, a pizza delivery man known as Brian Wells quietly walked into a PNC bank at Summit Tower Center, a shopping plaza in Erie, Pennsylvania. He arrived at 2:30 p.m. and slid a note to the teller stating that a bomb would explode in 15 minutes unless $250,000 was handed over. The bomb in question wasn't inside the building or to be delivered upon expiration of this request. It was simply locked around Brian's neck by a collar. The bank teller did all she could, but was unable to access the vault in the 15-minute time limit, so she instead handed him a bag containing $8,702. Wells took the bag and left the bank when the first contact to the authorities was made. A witness called the police, stating that a man just left with a bomb or something wrapped around his neck. According to the witnesses and surveillance footage, Wells acted confident as he approached the counter, even sucking on a lollipop, before the threat was made, and strolling out the bank swinging the bag and a cane gun. Wells was also fitted with 2 shirts, the outer of which read, "Can you guess who's behind this?" in taunting writing. But how did we get here? Let's go back and find out who and what put Brian in this situation. Brian worked as a pizza delivery man for 10 years at Mamma Mia Pizzeria. At 1:30 p.m. on August 28th, the pizzeria received a phone call from a payphone. When the owner couldn't understand the customer, he passed the phone over to Wells, who was then sent on a delivery of 2 pizzas to 8631 Peach Street, an address a few miles from the store. Upon arriving, Brian was accosted and forced to participate in the planned robbery, with a bomb locked around his neck and a message to give to the teller. This collar consisted of a hinge that worked like a large handcuff that had 4 keyholes under the chin and a rectangular section that contained 2 pipe bombs with 2 kitchen timers. One of the timers hung down over his chest, and the device was riddled with decoy wires, a toy cell phone, and fake warning stickers to trip up anyone trying to disarm it. When Wells discovered that this wasn't a joke and the bomb was real, witnesses say they heard a gunshot, forcing Wells to comply as he was given a homemade shotgun shaped like a cane. The bank robbery wasn't all Wells was instructed to do. He was on what they called a treasure hunt, and after leaving the bank, he was off to his second task. He didn't get far, however, as police spotted him not 15 minutes after he left the bank and promptly arrested him. Wells was told to lie about who did this to him, and he was handcuffed and sat down on the ground in the parking lot of the bank. The responding officers didn't attempt to disarm the collar, instead clearing the area and waiting for the bomb squad to arrive at 3:04 p.m. Unfortunately, if you can simple math, that was too late. Unfortunately, at 3:18 p.m., just 3 minutes before the bomb squad arrived, the collar detonated. The reason for their delay was noted as traffic congestion. When cops searched his car, they found notes that instructed Wells to scour the city for various keys that would help unlock the collar. Each key found would add onto the bomb timer, giving him more of a chance to live. It stated there was only one way to survive, and that it was to cooperate completely. In a panic to find out who was behind this, the cops began to follow the treasure hunt themselves, first heading to a McDonald's where Wells was told to drop off the money. From there, they followed clues into a wooded area where they found a container with orange duct tape around it. From there, they followed instructions to a small road sign 2 miles south, where there was another note. Here they found a jar, but it seemed their scavenger hunt ended here, as the jar was empty, and it looked as though the criminals were on the run from the arriving cops at that point. So who was behind the pizza bomber plot? Well, that's where the story gets a little convoluted. On September 20th, 2003, William Rothstein called 911 to report the body of James Roden stuffed in a freezer in his garage. He blamed Roden's girlfriend, Marjorie Deal Armstrong, who also happened to be Rothstein's ex-fiancée. After police charged Deal Armstrong with fatally shooting Roden, they questioned Rothstein about the Wells bomber case, to which he admitted he may have used the same payphone that the call to the pizza place was made. By mid-March of 2004, Deal Armstrong was being evaluated for her mental state and deemed off-limits to investigators while they determined if she was fit for prison or not. In July of that year, Rothstein died of cancer and continued to stay quiet about the Wells case, even as investigators questioned him on his deathbed. He was 60 years old. In January of 2005, Deal Armstrong pled guilty by insanity to Roden's murder and was sentenced 20 years in prison. After a few interviews with her about the Wells case, she admitted in July of 2005 that she killed Roden to silence him about the pizza bomber plot. Now we're getting somewhere. She admitted to supplying Rothstein kitchen timers for the bomb collar and was just a quarter a mile away from the bank when Wells was killed. 2 investigators interviewed Rothstein's housemate, Floyd Stockton Jr., and fishing buddy, Kenneth Barnes, who explained that Rothstein and Deal Armstrong were plotting a bank robbery with a bomb due to money troubles. When confronted with this information in February 2006, Deal Armstrong became upset and stated that Rothstein framed her. Barnes backfired, saying that she was lying, and now the two of them were on the chopping block for the crime. Stockton would have also been in trouble, but he met with an agreement for immunity to rat out the other two. On September 3, 2008, Barnes pled guilty to conspiracy to commit bank robbery, as well as using a destructive device during a violent crime. He was sentenced 45 years in prison. With nothing left to lose, he testified against Deal Armstrong. Then, on February 28, 2011, a solid 7.5 years after the bomb went off, Marjorie Deal Armstrong was sentenced to life in prison with no parole for the murder of Brian Wells. One hell of a long story for justice, but in the end, all the right people were put away for this strange, desperate crime. It reminds me of the Black Mirror episode Shut Up and Dance. Who knows if Roden's death slowed down their process of getting caught? But it's unfortunate that he was caught in the crossfire just for knowing who these people were. Make sure you know who your friends are. For more true crime and horror, please consider subscribing. Game with me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and as always,